The web of life has its own organizational structure, just like any other structure. We have certain flows. If you're working in a school or you're working in a office, there's certain flows that we have that help us work through the process, and we've forgotten the natural order for the most part. The fabric of the web of life has been, I'd say, torn or disrupted by our activities as humans, that we feel like we can act and live in a way out of harmony with the web of life. And that has an impact, right? That has a large impact over time. Maybe it's a little bit at once, but over time, it has a big impact. So I just wanted to share that with everybody as we start here. And before we get into the journey and I go into more depth, now that we have people in the room, I'd like to go around and just do some quick introductions so everybody knows who everybody else is sitting in circle. So Jimmy, why don't you go ahead?
Sorry. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I've been I guess I've been a shaman for like a couple of years, but I've been actually doing some shamanic work since forever, since before birth. But I'm here in Texas. It's kind of rainy and cold, so that's about it. Plus, I'm constantly studying shamanism. Just picking up some new stuff, and recently became a level 2 Akadwa practitioner. So I'm excited about it. It's just all goes great.
Well, great to see you, Jimmy. It's been a little while. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I fixed it where I'm going to try to be here every meeting this year.
Okay, great. That's great. I'll update the schedule for the year right now because we haven't actually sometimes Zoom, when we have Zoom, it automatically reschedules meetings, but it's not on the dates that I'm going to do it.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go through it and make sure that I have the right dates on there for you.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Jimmy. Alicia.
I'm glad you said that because I was doing the same thing. I just took my new calendar and wrote all the Zoom dates on.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm Alicia. I'm here in Florida. I have been working with Scott for, oh my goodness, I think 2 or 3 years now. And the shamanic work I do is more, I'm a connector. So I use it in business to connect providers, basically. Service providers, whether they do shamanic work or they do sound therapy, acupuncture, that sort of thing. So I use energy work in that. I've been doing a little bit of personal stuff, but not as much as before. So I'm just happy to be here, like in this sense, to work on the web of life in this way.
Great. Thanks, Alicia. Thanks for making the time to be here with us.
Of course.
Jim.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jim from California. So I just I may have met some of you at the last Web of Life that we did a couple of months ago, but recently I've completed the level 1 training in Kauai with Scott and Jerry, my new friend Jerry.
Hi, Jim.
And peace, brother. And was a wonderful experience. We also piggybacked on the energy body work for a couple of days, and remarkable experience. Lifelong friends. We all found our way to Kauai, our own way. Remarkable. I started my level 2 just yesterday, so I'm anxious to dig in and do the reading and do the work, and I'm just pleased to be here.
Thanks for joining us, Jim. Really good to see you. Christy.
Hey, everybody. I'm Christy. This is my first time at any of these meetings and excited to be here. I've been kind of getting emails from you, Shamir, for a while now, like a year or so. I moved to Hawaii 4 years ago in January, and I was looking for to expand my knowledge. I go to the by the beat of my own drummer, if that makes sense. Like there's no one true way or whatever that saying is. And I've been spiritual my whole life. And like at an early age bought a tarot deck. Like at age 10 I saved money and bought a deck, and just different things I've dabbled with through the years, and just want to learn more. My uncle lives in Maine and he's a shaman. I have a super strong connection with animals, super a lot of empathy and compassion since I've gotten some healing, earlier in life. And I'll stop this in a minute. I could like Christy, you're gonna not shut up, but I promise I'll shush. Early in life, went through a lot of trauma, and so didn't have a lot of compassion and empathy for myself and others. As I started healing, that's really helped me open that up, and it's a beautiful thing. So I love animals. I love nature, mana. I love Hawaii. I'm so grateful the island has allowed me to live here for 4 years. And I'm hoping to connect with you guys and gals, and see if this might be the right path for me to come to Kauai and learn some stuff. So thank you for letting me be here.
Sounds great. Are you on Big Island?
No, I'm on Oahu. I used to be an
Oahu.
Oahu snob, but I needed people and a job. And so I'm in Kaneohe, so
Yeah,
beautiful part of the island away from the hustle and bustle.
yeah, it's nice. Windward is nice.
Love Windward.
Yeah.
I can look out right now and I can see the mountains and I can see the ocean. And I'm a very, very blessed woman and so grateful for this existence.
Thanks for joining us, Christy.
Thanks.
Linda.
I'm Linda. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. It's getting ready to do blustering snow here in a few minutes. I'm a little jealous of you guys who are in warm weather. And I finished level 2 with Scott just recently, and I miss group. I miss group work. I miss doing whatever we got to do here. So I had to pop in and be part of.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. It's really good to see you, Linda.
Yes.
Yeah. And Nadia.
Yes, hello. I'm from Germany, and yeah, here it's already evening. It's just 11:30, and yes, I just wanted to get to know your work more, and I have done different kind of healings modalities all my life, actually, because I needed it, and yeah, so
Great. Thank you for joining us and staying up late in the evening.
yes.
Yeah. And DC, I don't know your first name, but tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Daniel, and I live on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island. I studied a long time ago with Michael Harner at Esalen, and then more recently, I studied with Hank Wesselman. I was on his Zoom group when he passed, and mostly I try to connect with my shamanic connections, I guess, because I deal with palliative clients at the local hospice, and I do therapeutic touch, and I use the shamanic work to bring in my helpers, so I can work on people with who basically are dying, but I work with people who are healing as they're dying. I guess we can say that.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle. That's a really deep work that you do, and I'm really inspired to hear that you're connecting in with your guides and helping them on the spirit level in the palliative care and not just physical pain relief. It's huge, because sometimes that physical pain is tied up in the spiritual and emotional pain as well. And so as you can hold that space for them at that gateway, the final gateway of life, I guess you could call it, that's a huge service that you're providing for them. And also, you've probably heard of psychopump work for the time when they pass, to help them transition and cross out of their physical body into the spirit world. That's also a huge service that really is overlooked. I'll just share that when my father was in the hospital at the end of his life, and I was sitting with him, just being with him and being together. But then when it was time for him to go, like the last couple of days, I was able to help him let go of his attachments, which made his passing a lot easier. And I was in the room when he passed, and it was like he was just there sitting with myself, my mom, and my cousin, and very happy to have us all together. And then in that moment, when we were in conversation, the three of us, he slipped out, and he literally chose his moment. That's just his style, kind of to do it, when nobody noticed, so it wouldn't be. But I saw his spirit leave his body. And as I could see his spirit leave his body like that, I was like, let my mom and my cousin keep talking. And they kept yakking on for about 45 seconds. I'm like, hey, do you guys notice that Dad just passed away? And they're like, what? They hadn't noticed. They were so involved in their conversation. But it was the pre-work that I had done the day before, and the day and that day and the day prior, that had allowed him the peace to be able to go and release what was still unresolved for him. And so when you're standing in that place with people and doing the palliative care, it's a huge thing that you're offering also with this, when you're calling your guides in and helping them resolve those, I think we could just call it emotions of attachment to maybe regrets even, or just things that they want to see and have assurance that if I let go, then my family will be okay, or whatever it is for them that they're still holding on to.
I'd like to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's anyway, we can have that conversation later, but thanks, Daniel, for sharing that, and thanks for what you're doing to help people. It's really a beautiful thing. Jerry.
Hi. Yeah, I've been studying with Scott on and off since I think late in 2021. I'm a nominally an advanced student, but I just did the beginnings thing again. I had like an interlude of medical thing that I'm fine now. Anyway, but yeah, I'm just like progressing. One of the handouts that Scott said is like, when I was in Kauai, there's a quote from, I think, an Indian chief, and it says something about the most important thing is faith. And that's what I'm trying to learn. I just feel like I'm right at the beginning of this exploration. I have a long standing practice as an alchemical hypnotherapist, which is very similar to this work, but different in some ways. Yeah. So, I'm also a musician, and that's like what I'm focusing on now too, majorly. And okay, that's all.
Yeah. Thanks, Jerry. Michael, you want to pop on and say hello? He might be away from his. Okay, Michael's muted and might be away from his device right now. Stephanie, can you pop on and say hello to us?
Hi all, thanks for having me. I am new here and just kind of found your stuff through doing some Google searches and found that it really resonated with me and I was really interested. So I am tuning in from BC in Canada, so the Vancouver area. And I found my way into energy medicine just through some chronic hip pain and some other body aches and pains, and found that I just couldn't believe how effective it finally was, after like tons and tons of years of physiotherapy and chiropractor and everything else. And so that's kind of how I found my way into the energy healing world. And then kind of found my way more recently into shamanic kind of experiences. And so I'm just kind of looking to, expand my knowledge and learn more. So I'm maybe more of a novice in the group than others. But I am excited to be here and excited to learn. And I guess I didn't turn on my camera. I could do that quickly. I just wave and say hi.
Hi, Stephanie.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thanks. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. Michael.
Yes, hello. My name is Michael Powers. I've had the blessings of working with Scott for a few years. He's been blessing myself, and I'm sure a lot of the people here. I work with various medicine people and some of the indigenous groups, and I've had some generational healers in my family, so it's a blessing to receive some best practices and safety mechanisms, in addition to the doors opening for other gifts. So thank you, Scott. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Michael. And Sherry.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. You too. I'm Sherry. I'm from Florida. I've been learning, being educated by Scott for over a year now. And my shamanic journey as a psychologist and massage therapist and all those other credentials is nothing compared to what is done here. And every time I go on a journey, I just move even more into the healing of the web of life. This is the cornerstone of what I know I'm meant to do. And it's interesting how everything is unfolding and how much help I'm getting, and that to support what I'm doing in the middle world. I just finished a course in ethics for applied behavioral analysis. I got an A, by the way, and I thought, why am I doing this? I do not need to do this. Why am I doing this? But ethics is the important middle world part. And then the other stuff is, now I've found myself with a camera. Like, okay, all right, well, I'll do this. So I get close with nature and continue to get close with the animals and do my rituals every day. And there's so much there and so much to access, and the foundation is a huge foundation for this launching pad that's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. It's just taking quite a long time to pull it all in and swim through it so I can figure things out. And the insights come, and they're wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, Sherry, for sharing that. And it does take time to build that foundation. And, we, as humans living in modern society, we tend to expect it to be right away, right? Especially now with social media. I want that dopamine right now. I want somebody to like my post or whatever, right? And that's like, and that's, when you talk about ethics, I mean, that's a huge part of it, because in the ethics of it, of what's been done with the neural engineering on social media, I mean, this is not accidental, right? It's well known. It's incredibly well known that these things are programmed in a way to essentially mess with the dopamine serotonin cycle of human beings and become addictive, as addictive as nicotine or other substances that are recognized now as being addictive. And so, this is what I was trying to say about out of step with the rules of the web of life. The rules of the web of life are not the rules of social media. Right? Going out there, getting the photo you need for Instagram, just, it might put you in danger. You might be out there on that cliff and, so focused on getting that photo that you didn't look, not you, but a person. You didn't look at the fact that that's an undercut rock that with your weight is now going to go tumble down, 90 feet. And we see things like that. I mean, fortunately, I haven't seen anybody tumble 90 feet. but I see people doing quite risky behavior and not knowing that it's risky because they don't understand the consequences of their behavior in a system that they're not used to, right? They're used to different risks. And on the other hand, just to share a little bit more personally about my daughter, like she said to me something incredibly profound a few months ago. She said, we were talking about having things together, right? And making sure that you're acting in considering the consequences of your actions and things like that. And she said, well, Dad, you've taught me really well about the physical stuff and being outdoors. And I don't have any problem. Like if I'm going to climb something, it's safe. I know how to measure risk, reward, consequence, the risk management curve, no problem. But where I have a problem with it is in the emotional space, right? Because I've never really practiced that. And I thought that was really profound, right? Because she has lots of friends, right? But it's just this thing where she's just saying, oh, well, in the emotional space, I don't really know what's risky. She doesn't really have a handle on that yet at age 15. I mean, I don't know if I have a handle on it at age 57, right? But probably a better handle of it than she does, I hope. Right. But at age 15, for her to think that and to go through that thought process and go, okay, I understand that the importance of integrity, but not quite being able to link that down to right the risk management. She knows integrity is important because we tell her it's important, but being able to think through that whole consequence curve of how if you tell a lot of little half truths over time, you'll lose you'll diminish trust in your circle of friends. They'll think that you're duplicitous. And she could then start to weave those dots together. Well, that's what happens in the physical world with people, right? They forget that there are procedures and protocols when we're out that keep the web of life balanced. And so that's part of restoring this fabric, because then we act in ways of like, oh yeah, one friend of mine who used to work at the fire department here said, oh yeah, there was a guy and we had to dispose of some paint thinner, so he just took it and poured it out on the ground. And he was like, what are you doing? And he's like, what? I'm just getting rid of it. And then my friend was like, well, don't you understand? Like that goes in, that not only does it kill the earth, but it goes into the water table. And the guy's like, well, it's just a driveway. And he's like, yeah, but it percolates down into the water table. And the guy kind of like looked at him for a minute, and then he started to understand what he had done. But at first he didn't even get it, right? So it's a lot about this, right? Yeah, I know. I see you guys, all your faces are like, how could someone not get it? But there are people who just think, oh, it's gravel driveway. It's not going to hurt a plant. They don't even think that there's anything below the surface of the earth that's alive, or even that the earth is alive unless it's part of their landscaping, right? And so it's this part of it is this education about where people just don't know. They don't understand the rules. Whereas if we had grown up more in touch with and more connected to the world around us, to the natural world around us, we would understand that we have to give back, that we have to nurture that world in order to be fed by it, that everything actually comes from that. And that it's, but people don't think about that. We don't think that, oh, when I'm getting, if I'm getting food, if someone's buying, packaged hamburger, they don't really think, oh, that was a cow. They think it's a hamburger. There's no idea that it actually came from an animal, and that animal gave its life, and that there's a connection there, and a gratitude and a prayer if you eat the meat, or even pull the life of a vegetable plant, that there's a gratitude, there's a Thanksgiving for that has to occur in order for it to be taken in right relationship. So anyway, that was just going on what you're saying about the foundation. We have to have this broad foundation, and then we can put it all together. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, you you're welcome. You had mentioned that it is a slow process, but the one thing that's really fast is the results of the shamanic work. It's like instantaneous.
It is. It is. And what's I find fascinating and really rewarding in that work is that I do the work and then I don't often I don't even realize the depth of the healing that has occurred through that. And then I find myself in a situation where I may have been reactive previously, and then all of a sudden I respond differently. And I didn't work on that situation, right? It wasn't like I was thinking about, oh, I'm going to do this so that in these types of situations I respond differently. I just did some self-healing that came to me. I was shown it in a journey. And then I find myself in a situation where I recognize that in the past I had responded certain ways. And it's different and more effective and more interdependent and more helpful, more compassionate. Wow, that's amazing, because it's not like I tried, right? It just, that shows me that I changed on a fundamental level. Yeah, thank you so much, Sherry. And
You're welcome. Thank you.
look forward to seeing you in professional development starting in February, because then we'll help you put it all together into a coherent format of what you're offering.
I'm being prepped. I'm being
Yeah.
prepped in a big way. You'll see.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I will. I'm sure. And you'll get that mission statement down. Like you'll get a lot of clarity on what your mission is with that work, with this work, and your work, your unique versions of how you put everything together. And then you'll be able to launch. That's going to be your foundation. So right now you're still gathering pieces that you're going to weave together. And that's actually going to be class one, is how do we weave all these pieces together? And then once you've woven them all together, that's going to be the foundation, a trampoline, so you can launch from it. Yeah, thank you, Sherry. And Laura, thanks for joining us. Do you want to say hi? Maybe she's not in front of her device right now. You can unmute yourself if you'd like to say hello. Okay, well, when you're able to unmute yourself. Oh, there you are.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm hitting all over the screen and I'm not getting anything.
Now we got you. Say hi. Tell us where you're from, where you're joining us from.
I'm Laura Larson, and I'm originally from Wisconsin, but I'm living out in Idaho Falls, Idaho.
Great, and thanks for joining us today, Laura. And what brought you here? How did you find us?
It was on Facebook that I found you.
Oh, great.
And so from there, then I looked on your website, and then I signed up, and then I got all the different dates of connecting. So yeah, I've been a lifetime student of shamanism. I've done Egyptian, done Norse, went to Guatemala and Peru and did workshops there and did several different things. So it's just ongoing.
It is. It's always ongoing.
Yes, yes.
There's always more to learn, always more to heal. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And before we start, I just wanted to check in with everybody, and especially the new people who haven't worked with previously. Just want to make sure, if I say to you, journey to the lower world and meet with your power animal, everybody knows how to do that. Is that correct? If anybody doesn't know how to do that, please raise your hand or let me know. Nadia? Okay, so there's a video about traveling to the lower world and how to meet your power animal that I think was available. But go ahead, share with me.
Yes, I had contact to power animals, but I did not learn journeys or something like that. So
Okay. Well, if you want for this journey that we're going to do, right, we're going to meet with our power animal and then ask our power animal to share with us the information and do the healing on our behalf for the web of life. And so however you connect with your power animals, there is a Learn to Journey video on my website. So I don't after this call you can go to it, and if you need the link, you can email me and I can send you the link. That will teach you how to go there into the lower world and meet your power animal in the way that we do it. But for now, when I start to drum a little bit later on the call, you can connect with your power animal in whatever way that you're familiar with and proceed with the same types of journey questions as the rest of the group is going to do with the drumming. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Nadia. Okay, so for today, what I want to work with is mending or reweaving the fabric of the web of life, mending the web of life. As we began to talk about earlier, the web of life has its fabric and what some cultures would call the original instructions of being in right relationship, where we as humans recognize that we are caretakers and custodians of the web of life, and that when we take, we also need to give, right? So when we harvest, we do so mindfully. For example, if you needed wood to build a house or build a bow, or you wouldn't just cut down the first tree or all the trees. Traditionally you would walk mindfully and wait until you found the tree that said, yes, this one. And it's a slower process, right? It's a mindfulness process. It's a tuning in of merging our consciousness with the consciousness of the web of life, with the consciousness of the trees and the birds and what's around us within the environment. And through that, we then get the knowing, the understanding and the knowing that this tree, right? And it's the same of if I'm navigating, where should I make my camp tonight if I was not at, base camp with my tribe or clan? It's a knowing this place. So the information is there in the web of life. We've often lost the ability to listen to that and receive that information because we're in this modern world that's very, very busy, right? So part of the training in shamanism, in addition to learning how to journey, is learning how to listen, to slow it down so we can listen to the web of life, as well as our spirit guides in the upper and lower world and our ancestors, our benevolent ancestors, right? So that's really important. The ethics, as Sherry's mentioning, the ethics is very important, and the ethics in shamanism too, that we're working with life-affirming forces only rather than parasitic forces. Because there's plenty of people out there who are quite skilled at being able to enter the spirit world. The question is are they doing that in a way that is life-affirming, or are they entering the spirit world for other parasitic or selfish purposes, right? That's really important. That should be your number one criteria when you study with anyone, whether it's me or anybody else, is what's the mission underneath there, right? Is it a life-affirming mission? So when we connect with the web of life, and going back to the example of I want to harvest a piece of wood, or harvest an animal to eat, or harvest a piece of wood for a building, right? If I'm taking everything mindlessly, that's parasitic. That's parasitic. I'm taking without consideration of the rest of the creation that's around me. If I'm harvesting in a mindful way I might look at, well, these two trees are really crowded in. I'm going to take one of them so the other tree can thrive. And that allows not only me to have what I need to build my house or carve my bow, it also allows the forest to be stronger, right? If I'm harvesting animal, taking an animal's life, right? Maybe I'm not going to take the strongest buck in the herd, but maybe I'm going to take an animal that's kind of towards the end of the life, right? We have, and partially we have these, rules in hunting and stuff where, you don't hunt a pregnant mother animal, right? It's a bad idea. Don't do that, right? But there's more to it than just that. So there's some rules that go through like fish and game, but there has to be more consideration, much more consideration. This is how it's always traditionally been, because humans knew that we're dependent on the web of life, and if we eat all the animals this year, there won't be any next year, and then we'll starve, right? As opposed to the consumerist society, which is get as much as you can as quickly as you can, because you never know if there'll be anything else left, right? That's a very parasitic, competitive, scarcity mentality, as opposed to coming from an abundance, right relationship, life affirming mentality. Does everybody see that? Does everybody see that connection between repairing the fabric of the web of life and honoring and nurturing the fabric of the web of life and that mindful harvest? Everybody get that? Life affirming, how they are essentially inseparable, those two concepts. Yeah. Okay. So for today's journey, we look at how, and it's going to be really prevalent, okay? How in the world around us have we as humans negatively torn the fabric of the web of life, impacted that fabric in a negative way? And what can we do to repair it? What can I do to mend that fabric? Because the fabric isn't one animal or one group of animals or one forest that's been clear cut. It's the fabric of how it all interrelates to each other, how everything we do ripples out and has ripple effects outward, 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 and those reverberations continue to move outward in the web of life. That's why what we do as healers, as shaman, is so important. Whether you're a connector, as that's what Alicia is doing, or you're seeing people in session work and helping people, the ripples that you have move outwards. If you help someone and you help them heal, then they pay that forward. They pass that forward in another way and help other people heal, right? So this is how it works. Okay. Anybody have any questions, anything, comments, anything they'd like to share with the group?
One thought that comes to mind is that, when you're talking about harvesting or taking some wood, or, let's say taking stones, grandfathers for the sweat, something like that, like a tradition that I felt was helpful to understand our connection was that in certain traditions, you'd go and give something before you take something. So you already go into it with the intention of giving before you take, and that makes that mindfulness immediate and predominant in your interactions after that point, because you're thinking, man, do I have some tobacco? No. Okay, well, what can I give? Can I give some spittle? Can I, give some prayers? Can I give some energy in that exchange? Like all the above, like, what can we give before we take?
Absolutely. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, the idea of an offering in that way is so important. When we walk through the various valleys on the coast as we go to our camping, I always bring my little tobacco pouch, and I give an offering as I enter each valley, asking permission to enter. Yep, there, you got yours, Jim, with you. That one exactly. And we give our offerings, and we ask for our permission and give thanks, and certain trees that are special to us. Actually, I'll share a story with you, a brief story that happened last week. So there's a few trees that are really special to my daughter and I in the place that we like to go camping. And one of them is this massive orange tree. It's probably like a 30-foot tall tree. And it's kind of skinny because it grows in the forest, right? But it has delicious oranges if they fall. But orange trees, native orange trees here, have spikes, thorns that are 3 inches and very sharp. So you cannot climb that orange tree. Okay, it's not a tree that you can climb, and the fruit is always very high up. So basically, if you want fruit from that tree, you have to come when it drops it and get it within, I don't know, half a day, or else the bugs are going to get it or something like that, or other animals, usually the bugs. And so when we were walking past it for the first time on our trip, there was, only a couple of rotten fruits on the ground and no fruit around, and we couldn't see really much fruit on it except for way, way high up, too high up to get a stick and knock any down. And so we were like, oh, okay, well, that's totally fine, and we gave thanks to the tree and gave an offering, and just with sincere gratitude of thank you, tree, for all the times that you've given us oranges. And this time, I guess we're not going to have oranges from you, but that's okay. We just really appreciate all the times that you fed us these delicious, tasty oranges, and they're so juicy, and you're usually like a little hot and dehydrated out there, right? So needing some vitamin C, it's great. So we do that, and then we go about our day. And 8 hours later or so, we're walking down the valley, and we pass the tree again, and there's an orange on the ground. We're like, oh, thank you. And so we have that orange. And then 2 days later, we walk past the tree, and we're walking with this other young man that we had met, and we were showing him around the valley, and the orange tree had dropped 3 oranges, one for each of us. So it was just perfectly funny to have that come back. And because we did it without the desire to receive, it was just simply, as Michael was sharing, I'm coming into this from a place of giving, and then I'm being provided for. And so this is understand how abundant that is in mentality, right? That is a script that we often don't run. We come from a scripting of scarcity that we've been expelled from the garden, right? Who has ever heard of that script, being expelled from the Garden of Eden and toiling and suffering and working, right? We come from that script. Well, there are other scripts that native cultures, indigenous cultures have, and those scripts are scripts of abundance, that we live in a garden and we're provided for, that, Sky Woman has planted all this abundance for us, and we have the corn and the squash and the beans and the strawberries and all these things, right? We don't run on those scripts. That's not our default program. Our default program as Westerners is scarcity. And that is one of the things that's very much wrong with our world, because from scarcity comes greed, and from greed comes parasitic behavior and overharvesting and taxing the very systems that give us life. Whereas if we come from the abundance and the knowledge that we will be provided for as long as we are in right relationship and we nurture and care for those systems, then it's a totally different balance. It's a totally different balance. So this is essentially why I do these Web of Life calls, okay, meetings, because we're trying to shift it on a spiritual level, to shift the awareness so that more and more people, these ripples, move outwards, right? If every one of you takes this home and then you ripple it outwards, wow, that's amazing, right? Because then we have these ripples moving outwards in greater and greater effect on the world around us, that we are making a positive impact. We're making a positive impact. We're able to work from a place of life, affirming life and caretaking life, caretaking the Web of Life specifically, right? That's our role as human beings, to act as caretakers. We belong to the earth. The earth doesn't belong to us. We don't have dominion over the earth. That's not true. That's a lie. We don't have dominion over the Web of Life. We actually are caretakers of the Web of Life. We belong to the earth. We're part of the earth, and we have a special job on the earth, which is to use our imagination, or our thinking brain, which is different than the brains that other animals have. We have these unique endowments, if you will, or skill sets as humans, to use that to, rather than just come from a place of instinct, to think through, how can I best manage this ecosystem? Not for my own personal gain, and not from a place of parasitic behavior and greed, but how can I best manage this ecosystem for future generations and for all of the web of life? This is the shift that I'm talking about. So in this journey, I'm going to ask those of you who have not journeyed much before, journey to the lower world and meet your power animal. Those of you who have more experience journeying, you're free to work in the upper or lower worlds, or even in the middle world if you have that experience, and work with either your power animal, your spirit teacher, your benevolent ancestors, or your council of ancestors if you've gone through the ancestor course and have a council of ancestors that you work with, and ask, how can I best help to repair the fabric of the web of life? Show me where it's been broken, how it's been broken, and what I can do to repair it. How can I mend it? And how can I inspire others to mend it? And then when we're done with the journey, we're going to come back and we're going to share what we were shown. Anybody else have any questions? Just unmute yourself, Jerry, if you have a question. I can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm just wanted to add that from scarcity also is like, if you have a model of scarcity, then you're in fear that you're not going to have enough. And then the fear generates like all kinds of like toxic stuff, you know, and like fear is like the dominant emotion in that world.
Absolutely. It's that fear that drives the greed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, they even have it on, like, I don't know, one of the news sites, they have what's called the fear and greed index. You've seen that? It's like a stock market thing. And if it's on greed, it means that the market's going up and people are thinking that the market's going up. So they're like, more, 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 more. And if the market's going down, they're afraid that they're going to lose everything. So they're sell, 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 sell. They actually call it the fear and greed index, which I thought is fascinating because it's like, okay, it nails it exactly for what it is. But to your point, fear and greed and parasitic behavior are on the exact same continuum. They're part of the same nut. And so the idea is that we step outside of that, and then we're free from both fear and greed, and we can act in more life-affirming ways. Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Okay, so I'm going to step off the screen to drum. And
Actually,
yeah, go ahead.
Excuse my ignorance, but could you once again state the object of our journey again?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So you're familiar from studying with Michael Harner with the lower world and power animals and upper world and spirit teachers, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to say for you, you can choose whether you want to go to the upper world and meet with your teacher, your spirit teacher, or the lower world and meet with your power animal or power animals, either one. When you go, ask to be shown first, how is the web of life, how's the fabric of the web of life been torn? And you can look at it either in your neighborhood in Canada, in your yard, or in a more global perspective. That's going to be kind of up to what you're shown in the journey. So ask to be shown, how is the web of life torn? And what can I do to repair it? What can I do to inspire others to repair it? And then we're going to come back, take a few minutes to journal, and then we're going to share as a group what we were shown in the journey. Does that all make sense, Daniel?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for asking. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, so I'm gonna step off the screen right now, and you're gonna hear me drumming, and then when the drumming ends, we'll come back, journal, and then we'll share. Okay, here we go. Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. Who'd like to share first about what they were shown in this journey?
I didn't get a lot. Whenever I went to Upper World and spoke with a spirit teacher, and I was shown just lots of water, like all forms, but especially in the ocean. And I think I need to go back and rejourney on this because when I asked how can I, what can I do to help with this part of the web, I wasn't really shown a lot about that. It is one of the frequencies of the 7 frequencies that that I am open to with the Akadwa stuff that I do. I just haven't worked with that particular frequency yet, but I have worked as in the past, when I've done journeys with the water. I think in one of the web things that we had was a water thing, and I connected with the aquifer. Excuse me. And I connected with the aquifer, and but I wasn't shown any of that. It was just he just kept showing me just vast oceans that something is off out there. That's all I know. And that's all it was. I was being told or being shown that. So I'm gonna have to figure that out, and so that I can help. But that's all I got. I think the journey, because the journey was just too short for me to get everything that I needed to get.
Okay, yeah, you needed a little bit more time down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think we also did that journey merging with water
Yeah.
in I think in level 3.
And I had such a good time merging with that aquifer, and I traveled all the way back down to Texas. It was so cool.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, you can feel free to drop me a line when you do follow up on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Who'd like to share next?
I will.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
So mine was just the overuse of resources. People aren't aware or care to be aware because they kind of don't like boundaries, or if you were like really to say that there's limits, we have limitations. And so my role was just to be the example, to start with me and to tell others about how I'm, doing my own resources to help inspire others to do their own. So it was basically a start small and let the ripple effect happen.
Right, be a model
Mm-hmm.
and inspire others through your modeling. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Linda.
Mm-hmm.
Who'd like to share next? Sherry.
Mine was pretty interesting and quick. That as the Earth shifts a little bit throughout the entire planet, people have a difficult time keeping up with those shifts, and they don't always align with the shifts. And I got what I can do is offer through transmitting my energy to people through physical touch, to do it that way, just energy healing, which I do that kind of stuff anyway. But yeah, it's just so simple what they showed me. It's amazing.
Yeah, thanks. And sometimes through that physical touch, right? Sometimes we get caught up in like, oh, just helping balance this person. But then there's a ripple effect within that of how, right? And you can plant those seeds too of that within the sessions of inspiring people to, have to pay it forward, basically.
Yeah, I usually use just words do it. And now it's more, let me bring in my massage therapy license as well as the psychology license. Yeah, And I asked, well, would meditation help? I said yes, and some other things they showed me, but it's kind of like we're out of time, and we need to get moving with stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty critical. We're at the window is smaller and is getting progressively smaller.
Yeah.
And so the time is now. It's not oh yeah, later after I finish scrolling through my social media feed.
Right. Maybe in 5 years. No.
Right, exactly. It's now. There's quite a bit of urgency that I sense within it.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Sherry. Who else would like to share? Jim?
Pretty. I went to the lower world. Pretty lucid, clear, and my spirit animal. Many more animals joined on this journey. But the tear of the fabric quickly became the focus was that we're the tear in the fabric is that we're just really screwed up with information, and I was getting information rich but meaningless. We're not interpreting it. We don't listen. We're not listening. We're not paying attention, and and so it really focused on listening and awareness as a solution. So specifically on the solution was it piggybacked on my journey in Kauai, where my parasitic energy led me to my relationship with the news cycle, and the solution to that was presented as stop social media, which I have done since that moment, and with great results. But so they took that further, and they said, so start with me on the listening and paying attention and modeling. And they said, well, you listen to the weather reports, so don't stop listening to the weather reports and start paying attention to the weather. And I thought, oh, how interesting. So, I mean, can I get a barometer? And they said, yes. That's acceptable. Tools are acceptable, but no social media weather reports, no news weather reports. And with your circle of influence and your friends, talk to them about what you're learning about paying attention to the weather, and paying attention to what you think is happening and why it's happening. So I asked also, can I use the Farmer's Almanac? And they said yes. So which is pretty cool. But anyway, it just dialed in, talk less, pay more attention, mindfulness, and set up a weather station.
Great. Thanks, Jim. And it's interesting, we were out, when we were just out I think it was on day 10, I woke up in the morning and, I don't have any radio or anything with me. No weather forecast, to check the weather before we went. But, it's only like 5 days out. Now we're in 10 days. And all of a sudden, the swell had picked up. It was huge. It was like triple overhead, crashing on the shore. And the clouds were moving from the Kona side, from the opposite direction. And I was like, oh, there's a storm, a large storm out there. Because it doesn't kick up, 15, 20-foot faces on the surf unless there's a big storm. And then but usually those storms can be quite distant. But I'm like, but it's sucking the wind the other way. I'm like, are we going to get slammed out here? And we just sat there and we looked at it for a while and woke my daughter up. I said, hey, you notice anything different this morning? And she's like, huh? I'm like, look at the clouds. She goes, oh, the clouds are moving the opposite direction. Right? She knew right away which way the clouds are supposed to move over there. And then it passed. We didn't actually get rained on. It rained up valley, but not where we were. And it was interesting though to see, that idea of just being present with what is rather than being subject to somebody else's interpretation. Not that necessarily it's wrong to check the weather, but
The indigenous would have been all over that.
yeah,
And it would have been just another day, but of weather reports for them. But
right, exactly. Oh, there's something out there, and you need to sense it, right? You need to be aware because it doesn't matter, especially in Hawaii.
right.
The weather report's different on every corner of the island.
Right.
But that's just an example of being present, being observing, slowing things down, so that so that we're actually present with what is happening out there, rather than going through these interpretations and extrapolations. And there's so much disinformation and spin put on the information that when we go, direct and use our observations, and not only our logic mind observations, but our spirit mind observations. And so, of course, I went out and I did a journey when I saw that. And it was like, no, you're fine. You don't have to pack up. I was like, okay. And then it passed. So, yeah. Thank you, Jim. Who else would like to share? Like to share next? Alicia and then Nadia.
So I went to the upper world and worked with my spirit helpers, and they immediately took me to the tear in the atmosphere, and showed me like northern lights, but in a place, I'm in a place they shouldn't be seen. And she kind of just talked a lot about the mindfulness. That was huge. That mindfulness needs to be taught. When I asked how I could help, the first piece was finding, well, you were a part of this, Scott, so I have like homework for you, actually.
Oh, thank you. I got another assignment. I got something else to do. Awesome. Thanks.
You do such incredible, work and mindful work. But it was suggesting, like with what I do with providers, to suggest and somehow create, because we do, a lot of online events and groups, but some sort of a mindfulness. Find providers that are willing to do this mindfulness, just to teach people how to be more mindful, just at a base foundation level first. For you, it suggested, I know you do incredible, honorable work. Like I could never speak highly enough about you, Scott. And I know your passion lies in the web of life. And, you teach and you talk about ripples moving out, but you only get to actually do web of life meetings. What is it? 4 times a year, correct? Like quarterly?
Yep.
It was suggested that possibly, since you are working with so many people, that you create or you sponsor ambassadors for the web of life, and that maybe you do, or you sponsor these new providers that also have the same things, more meetings. So maybe monthly there are ambassadors that are doing web of life as well. Does that make sense?
Sure. You want to be one?
I don't know if I don't know if I have the knowledge or not. I would be happy to help you create it. Absolutely.
Sure. It's actually a couple of ladies in Europe who have been doing Web of Life. They were inspired to do their own versions of it. I don't know if they still are, but they were, and that actually has been part of my vision. So very much aligned with that. If there's anybody else who wants to facilitate that, I can certainly help set that up. So we can have that conversation, Alicia.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that came into it, and just it was a lot about education and knowledge and a foundation of you talked about this before we journeyed, just having that mindfulness, and it's just a small piece. It's a little bit of what Jim said, a little bit of what Linda said, and even Michael earlier, he said, just which I have forgotten. So I really appreciate that from him, to to offer before I take. A lot of times I'll take and then offer. And just that reminder to offer before I take. And that's a simple thing, very simple. So all of that and bringing it all together into one space, but, starting with the mindfulness then, you know, moving on to the offering before you take, and you're already mindful then, of course, of that, and then moving on to educating and giving knowledge to more people, and reaching people. I know even in this group, there are so many new people that have come into it, and it's just a beautiful thing, Scott, that you're doing. And it just needs to be done more, basically.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, I'd love to have connect with somebody else or a few other people who are happy to do it. That would be fantastic because I haven't figured out how to replicate myself yet.
Well, let's try.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm actually going to do something for Arwell in January.
Oh,
I already
excellent.
connected with Katie and Steph about that. So,
Excellent.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, who'd like to share next?
I will.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Um, so yeah, I asked like how were we disrupting the web of life, and I just kept I met Wolf. That was showed up. He showed up, and he says, "Well, look around you." It's like it's all over. It's like we have to go into that. Like it's pretty obvious. It's no secret that fear and greed are kind of running the show. And I was also shown that the web of life will go on, but we're so powerful that we can mess with it, and and because we can mess with it, we can unmess with it, um, and so there's hope and like the negative message also like kind of blended in together. Um, and then how can I repair the web of life? It says, well, don't participate in the myth of scarcity. Like, don't model it. Um, don't don't keep that in mind. Um, and it's also I was also shown this is you're not an outdoorsman. You're not going to become an outdoorsman. It's not important that you become an outdoorsman necessarily. Of course, you should respect the earth and but it's your interactions with other people and modeling abundance, faith, and belief, and also with my music, like just sharing that and like being like open-hearted. And it also is also said to me like don't fall into agreement with those who are participating in like what you'd call the toxic paradigm. Like just don't like go along with that, like resist it, like and model the good behavior. And then when I was leaving, Wolf gave me a hug, which is really nice.
Oh, thanks, Jerry.
Also, I really appreciate like everybody else's sharing because they really added into what I was my perceptions. Yeah.
Thanks. And it's one that thing when we journey as a group on the same topic, we're often given little pieces of the puzzle, and then it fits together as the entire overview afterwards. You're muted though. I can't hear you.
I unmuted. Now I'm. But anyway, I did say where I was from. I live in Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, I thought you were in Oregon.
Yeah, I'm across the river from Portland. I'm like
Okay,
I'm in the suburb of Portland, basically.
He's
Yeah,
on the
but
backside of the tracks.
it's Washington. It's Washington.
got it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be an outdoorsman to nurture the web of life at all. That's not necessary. It just happens to be my personal passion, but you don't have to be an outdoorsman to connect with and nurture the web of life. And it's as simple as walking out your door and seeing a songbird and connecting with it and listening to it. What message did that bird have? Whether it's a pigeon or a sparrow or something more exotic, right? They all have medicine for us.
Jerry, I would never have known you were not an outdoorsman. Ever.
He didn't come on the walk with us.
well, yeah, that was almost extreme, but
Thanks, Jim. Oh, Nadia, you wanted to share before. I'm sorry.
Yes, since I don't know exactly how to journey, I took it a little bit lightly, a little bit careful, like slow.
Mhm.
And I just had, yes, like memories or pictures of horses and some incidents where like the horses, they took me into the herd energetically, like they stand all around me. And it was like they took me into the herd, into their community. Just twice it happened, but I could not repeat it. It just happened spontaneously, and I don't know. It was just, I could not make it happen. So, and then all the incidents where horses were like in the neighborhood, we have a lot of horses. And yes, and at the end, there was like a Latin American shamans, like the women with hats on, like from Guatemala or Bolivia or something like this. And it was the message was that I should connect to the culture with the positive, yes, aspect. So.
Yeah, thanks, Nadia. And yeah, being adopted into the community of horses is part of the web of life, right? So you're being adopted in. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Would anybody else like to share about their journey?
Perhaps I could share.
Go ahead, please, Daniel, and then Michael.
I'm not sure I was really on topic, but it seems that I went down met with my power animal, and my spirit guide came to visit as well. And it seems that the subject of greed came up, and it's interesting that greed comes up because that's certainly been a part of our life up here in Canada, and I'm guessing that it's the same for the people down in the States, that suddenly record prices for everything, especially food, is really, driving us all crazy. And what can we do about it? So greed seems to be kind of prevalent. So I was thinking, well, what can counteract greed? And I thought, well, love seems to be a way to counteract greed. And then little things came up like love's the only engine of survival, a Leonard Cohen song, right? And then I thought the lazy man's guide to enlightenment is to love as much as you can from wherever you are. So these things just started popping up. And the last message before I came up was get out of your own way. So I don't know where all that went, but that was my journey. And it seems like more love is needed in my life. It seems like that's what is being yearned for.
Yeah, thank you. And that's very deep. And the love and the empathy is actually quite missing in all over, really, at least in Western society. It's a very there are very few people who live a life of authenticity and empathy. If you look around there and you say, okay, well, my mission is to live a life of authenticity and empathy, then look around and how many other people do that, and what are the challenges with that, right? How many people would want to take advantage of that type of empathy? So how do I live a life of authenticity and empathy and also maintain my boundaries so that it's not being exploited, right? That's the greed part, right? Oh, okay, there's authenticity and empathy. Let me swoop right in and grab all that because it's in such short supply. So that's one of the things that we actually talk quite a lot about in level 2 shamanic self-mastery, about how to maintain this authenticity, this empathy, this life-affirming way of practicing and simultaneously protect our boundaries so that we maintain right relationship. And the importance of that is that we must make sure that because if we overgive, we burn out, right? So if we end up in parasitic or imbalanced relationships where we're all going to be the givers, right? You're not on this call if you're a taker anyway. I mean, you're not. It's just not something you're interested in, right? You don't come to dedicate a couple of hours of your time to healing the web of life if you're coming from the perspective of being a taker. People don't do that, right? They come because we want to make a positive difference. We're empathically feeling about rebalancing the world around us, right, in a more positive way. So then how, as people who are empathic and givers, do we make sure that we can make a lasting and sustainable impact? It starts with proper boundaries where we're not being exploited, because we need to be able to set those boundaries so we have longevity and we can make a greater impact over time. Does that make sense? Tying into the love and empathy theme that you were talking about, like giving love. So, but it's giving love with discernment as well, right? It's giving love. But sometimes love is actually setting a boundary and speaking the truth, right? Hey, when you're, just going back to that example from the very beginning of class, that other fireman friend of mine and his coworker who was dumping the chemicals out on the, I think it was paint thinner, out on the lawn, and it's just like, hey, that's love to say don't do that, even though if you say it in a loving way, right? So there's boundaries within love as well. And that's an important theme that we have to make sure that we don't lose sight of that when we are practicing that. That's very important. So thanks, Daniel, for sharing that. That's really, and especially with what you do, right, with your working in palliative care. I think you get to see people at a stage of life where they're forced to reckon with what's truly important, right? They're not, people in that stage of life aren't going, you know what, I'm going to invest in this and I'm going to do that. They're not trying to build. They're just surviving and kind of wrapping it all up. And they get to look back at all the mistakes and all the regrets and all the beauty too, all the beautiful things, all the things they did well, but also all the mistakes. So like, what did I prioritize well and what did I not prioritize, and the time slipped by me and I missed those opportunities, right? So these are the things that, where you're standing in that space with love and compassion for people, that can make a huge difference within their healing as well. Thanks for sharing that. It's really, really beautiful. Michael?
Some similar parallels there. Went with Eagle, the upper realm spirit teacher, was showing that, part of the terror was, for example, some of the wars going on. Kind of got to look at Ukraine down there, and something like $148 billion we've given out to the war effort there. We spent about 6 so far on the Native American people, and it was like, why are we spending $1 trillion, let's say, on the global aspect of both sides of that war front, rather than spending $1 trillion on investing in our people, investing in our shift of consciousness. And I know that's kind of some borderline hippie patchouli, but that was what was shown to me, was that we, what I can do is, have that discussion here, and that, like, that ripple effect with all these great minds and souls here, that, if it's your choice, we could, meditate and pray on that shift of consciousness to rebalance the love and the greed aspect, because the reason there's $148 billion going to the war effort is because they're making money on it. They're, upselling the tanks. They're going to upsell the oil when they get that. And then, versus why would you want to go, pour into the land or pour into the, well, that's a shift of consciousness. Just like, that guy with the turpentine or the paint thinner, he had that shift of consciousness. I think that would be the goal of that meditation, would be to have that global, and especially in the leadership positions, but that global shift in consciousness. And I was like, wow, that's, okay, well, that's no biggie, right? But it was shown, hey, no, that's actually what shamanic work for generations is that that understanding and that shift of awareness and the connection in that web of life. And then the light comes on, that hopefully that awareness comes into being. And so it was shown to me that what I can do is sort of bring up that journey and share it and go well.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Michael. And yeah, imagine putting in, I don't know, 1/1000th of that onto Pine Ridge.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
forest reservation in the United States, and Rosebud's the second forest, not just reservation, but living conditions in the United States, like the poorest living conditions, period. Like 60% of people still may not have water or power, depending on where you're at. And so it's but I don't want to just be ethnocentric in our country and in our needs. We can be global with that. We could, imagine what $1 trillion would have done for, Ukraine or Russia, right? Rather than the loss of lives and, or $1 trillion over there in the Gaza Strip or whatnot. Like that would buy a lot of condos somewhere else for sale. You could make a new location in the desert with that type of money. So it's a prayer for that shift of consciousness and understanding that there's a better way to steward our resources and invest our resources with the long-term goal in mind rather than the short-term greed and profit.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. So sometimes that hippie patchouli stuff actually has a point, right?
For sure.
Thanks, Michael. Laura.
Hi there. I floated back and met with my my ancestral teacher, and with her, she had me lay back into her, and she put her hand on my forehead, and I saw like a loom of a woven tapestry, and that it was dissolving, and that these big holes were coming in. And then I saw like a spider web, and the holes were getting bigger and bigger and dissolving. And the message was saying that because of all the anger, the fear, and the greed that's happening, is causing those tears. And I was told to mend it by groups and numbers are greater with prayer and meditation, and that love conquers all. And that with doing that, you can actually patchwork in to men in those places and make it stronger and be more resilient.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I think what we're going to do in our next Healing for the Web is to focus, now that we've had a perspective of where it's torn, I think the next meeting, what we're going to do is we're going to do a group journey on actually mending it in the spirit world. So now we have the cognitive understanding, right? And then the next journey is going to be, and maybe we'll do multiple journeys. Maybe this ties into what Alicia was shown about meeting monthly for that. Or we do a group intention is very clear to actually help reweave that fabric, repair that fabric of the web of life. Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That image that you have shared about the loom with holes and the spider web with holes getting larger is very, it strikes me when I hear it. Because I see it in my mind. When I hear you speak the words, I see the image in my mind's eye as well. And I'm like, yep, that's it. That's exactly what I've been shown in different ways, not with that imagery, but it really strikes into my heart when I hear that. So, yeah. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Stephanie, would you like to share with us as well?
Thanks. I don't have much that I will probably share today, but I really appreciated the experience and just wanted to say thank you so much for this, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, and thank you everybody for joining us. Really appreciate everybody taking the time to be here today. And I'll see you all soon. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you so much.